Hey, all you Outpost fans. Okay, so tonight we got a wedding crasher, we got a prison break, and a possible plagueling cure. Don't go get pulled into a portal because the conversation we need to have is happening in this dimension.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, all of you Outpost fans. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Outpost After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight, we are breaking down Season 2, Episode 7, Where You Go, People Die, which, first of all, yikes! Harsh words, Garrett. Of course, coming up later in the show, we're going to be talking all about the big part of this episode, which was Naya confessing to Janzo that she's the traitor and what her fate will be, her escaping from prison with the help of our favorite brewer. Gwyn and Tobin are hearing wedding bells. Garrett makes an appearance at the outpost finally, and Talon, we finally get to see a look at the dimension that all these other Blackbloods are from. But before we get into any of that, guys, a lot happened this episode. In case you haven't already heard me just basically list it all out for you. A lot happened, and they actually addressed the big question which has kind of been lingering over us, which was Naya. What's going to happen to Naya? And so I would love to just kind of really get into that first, because that was huge. So much of this episode was dedicated to that storyline. And, you know, in the past I have mentioned it's going to be very bittersweet. We knew this episode was going to come where Naya has to confess, or maybe not necessarily confess willingly. Maybe it's forced out of her because Tobin finds out that she is the traitor. Long story short, we knew that there was going to be a day where it would be revealed that she was the traitor from the end of season 1, and it was going to be very sad because she has a really great thing going on with Janzo, and Janzo even put it so sadly towards the end where he's like, I finally found someone that I love and I have to make sure I never see them again because now she's on the run. But let's kind of get into the start of it. So it starts off very sweet. Naya is clearly anxious, just because she's continuing. You know, she did it once at the end of season 1, but, you know, throughout this season, she's had to continue giving intel to the Prime Order. Otherwise, her family would be hurt. And so you can see that the guilt is really just eating up at her. And, you know, she's invited to this lovely dinner by Janzo, who's just trying to, you know, spew his heart out to her. And she's like very much blowing him off. But it's not that she doesn't feel anything, obviously. It's the fact that she's so anxious and she doesn't know what to do. Finally, Janzo's like, you know, you can trust me. And going into tonight's episode, I always had the thought that if she confessed to Janzo, I think there would be a chance of her being redeemed. Not saying that she's not a redeemable character, but I think there would be a chance of her being forgiven, I think is what I am trying to say. She would be more easily forgiven, especially by Janzo. Because I think if it came out, for example, which it kind of did, but say, for example, it came out because she was found out, not because she confessed, I think that would have been a lot harder on Janzo, because Janzo would have thought maybe their entire relationship was a lie. Maybe he would have speculated, oh, she was just with me to, you know, see what I know, or something like that, because Naya's paranoid at this point. So I am happy that she confessed to him first, and I always thought, as I mentioned, if she confessed to him first, there would be a chance for her to be forgiven. And we can definitely see in this episode that Janzo does want to forgive her. I mean, he kind of lets her have it at first. I mean, rightfully so. She did a very bad thing. And it's actually interesting because I want to get everyone's opinion on something real quick. So while she's confessing, she's, you know, saying, oh, if I didn't do it, they would hurt my family. Janzo kind of is basically saying, like, so what? You know, you did a really bad thing. You cost so many people their lives because of what you did. You're the reason Garrett is dead, and it doesn't matter if your family wasn't, well, not in these words, but basically, like, it doesn't matter if your family's in danger. So many other families have been put in danger by the Prime Order. Now, Naya says something like, oh, you're being very insensitive. What do you guys think? Do you think Janzo was being insensitive towards Naya's feelings, towards her reasoning? Just kind of something on what I think. I don't think he was. I think Janzo was trying to not be insensitive as in, I don't care about what you were feeling at the time that you did it. You did something bad. I think he was coming at it of, your excuse is not good enough. You know, I can see maybe where you're coming from in that she would do what anyone would want to do, which is to protect her family. But that excuse is not good enough when that's everyone's excuse, because everybody's family has been put in danger by the Prime Order. It's not just Naya. So I don't necessarily think he was being insensitive. I think he was just trying to make a point of, like, you did something bad, and the reason you did it is the reason we all have in common, and we're all trying to escape the Prime Order. We're all trying to get freedom. We're all trying to, you know, protect ourselves from this war, and you just assisted them. So I don't necessarily think he was being insensitive. I think he was trying to make a point. I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone in our chat. I hope I am saying these names correctly. Adebayo, Tigeria, and Adam Rodriguez. Hi, everyone. Adam is just saying it was heartbreaking to see Janzo plead to Gwyn to spare Naya's life. It was, as I mentioned, it was going to be very bittersweet when we found this out. And as I had mentioned, if she confessed to Janzo would be forgiving. And we did see that he was very forgiving. He, you know, gave her a proposition. He said, go confess to Gwyn. She can help you. And to be perfectly honest, I think had Gwyn found out from her and not from Tobin, things may have been slightly different, because as we see, she is quote unquote found out by Tobin, which is not the which she was on her way to confess anyway. But because the information came from Tobin and not from Naya, obviously Gwyn feels very betrayed. You know, that was, other than Talon, that was someone she considered her best friend, someone who she loved, someone who she cared about. And so, but I think had Naya confessed to her, something may have been different. Gwyn tries to make this case at the end towards Janzo of, I cannot make an exception for her as much as I cared about her. Because if I did, I'd have to make an exception for everyone, which is true. You know, she has to lead by example now, especially because so much is at stake here. And so she can't necessarily let Naya go. But maybe, what do you guys think? Had Naya confessed to her, do you think it would have been Gwyn that did the prison break instead of Janzo? I think that's definitely a possibility. I think maybe Gwyn would have tried to do something, maybe just to save her, because I'm sure Gwyn understands she didn't do it to be evil or malicious. She did it for a real, you know, genuine reason. And Janzo even says, you know, if you had gone to Gwyn in the beginning before you started working, basically serving the Prime Order and giving them all this attention, maybe she could have helped you. Maybe she could have helped you find a way to protect your family. Maybe you could have trusted her. Because again, Janzo keeps on saying, like, oh, your family might already be dead. He's not putting it nicely, but it's going back to the idea of, like, oh, the reason you're doing it might not be, you know, it might not be, I don't want to say worth it, but it might not, they're obviously, the Prime Order is obviously not going to keep their word, basically. So, I don't know. Things could have definitely gone differently had Naya told Gwyn about everything in the beginning. And then, of course, we get our little prison break, which this was funny just because, you know, we saw Janzo start out the series as a brewer, then he kind of moved into a scientist and a savior to try and find the cure for the plagueling, and now he's going back to being a brewer because he drugs the guards and, you know, helps Naya try and get away. And now, obviously, this is the last we're going to see of Naya, maybe for the entire series, definitely for the rest of the season, because at this point, you know, Janzo even makes the decision, you can never come back, because she wants to come back. She wants to come back to Janzo. She clearly cares about him. She loves him. But he can't let her come back because she's on the run. She's a fugitive at this point. You know, she was going to be executed, because that was the rule for, or that was the sentence for treason. And, you know, because, like I said, the information was brought in by Tobin, I'm sure Gwyn felt the pressure to actually move forward with that sentencing. So if she comes back, she will be killed for treason. So she has to be on the run. She has to go somewhere no one will find out. And Janzo can never know, because I'm sure now Janzo is obviously going to be in trouble. At some point in the series, someone's going to find out who let Naya go, and that's just going to cause more issues for him. And so it's best if he doesn't know where she is, because if he does, then that's just putting himself in danger. That's putting Naya in danger, especially because he wants to protect her. He obviously got her out of the situation because he wants to protect her. So it's just going to be a big old mess when it went for Janzo when they find out who exactly let Naya go. But again, guys, it was a very bittersweet storyline. We all knew that this was coming. We all knew that this relationship, as much as we were very happy to see it grow, as much as some of us were happy to, see Janzo happy and not in this like weird friend zone spot with Talon, and happy to see him grow and move on from that kind of unrequited love. It was nice to see these two characters happy, and it's just very bittersweet knowing that it came to an end, and we possibly will never get to see it again because Naya has to be on the run now. So that was that storyline, and it had Gwyn played a very big part in that storyline too, because next to Janzo, Gwyn was also very close to Naya. But Gwyn was dealing with her own thing this week, this episode. She went from like having a very good high to a very sad low. Gwyn seemed like she was getting things together, and then this happened, and now it seems like she's taken a step back. But we don't know. Before I get into, kind of talking about Gwyn and our wedding for this episode, I just want to take a moment to thank all of the fans who are watching, everyone out there. Thank you so much for helping AfterBuzz TV be the ESPN of TV talk. It means so much to us that you tune into our shows every single week. It means so much to us as a network, so much to us as hosts. And you want to know what the great thing is that there is a show out there for everyone. We have comedies, we have horror shows, we have reality TV, we have dramas, we have superhero shows, we have sci-fi shows. And want to know the great thing about us is that if there isn't a show, we will make that show. We actually even just launched a new channel, AfterBuzz TV Latino. So that is for all of our Spanish speaking and anyone out there who enjoys Spanish television. So if we don't have it, we will make it. And we just have so much content. We want to have everybody give something to everyone and have them tune in and enjoy. So, with that being said, please go and subscribe to us on YouTube and give us 5 stars on iTunes, because 1 through 4 don't work. We greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's talk about Tobin and Gwyn. Okay. So we obviously got to see this little romance start last week. And Tobin kind of opens up. He doesn't want to make amends with his cousin, but he will because, I think he will partially because he needs to. He sees and realizes that he needs to for the sake of, getting everyone out from the rule of the Prime Order and to win this war. But I think he also wants to do it because he wants to kind of connect more with Gwyn. And we see actually in this episode, Gwyn tries to do something nice. She tries to make him food, and, he's making fun of her. And in my head, I'm like, God, dude, just appreciate the nice gesture. She went out of her way and did this, but he's, over there making comments. But again, it's very much in Tobin's character. As much as, in the last few episodes, we've seen his growth as a character and see that there's always room for improvement in a character, he does have moments where he goes back to kind of how he was introduced, which was like that womanizing, kind of like snarky comments kind of guy. So there's still a little bit of that character in there. He's still appreciating it because obviously he's still eating the food that apparently tastes very bad. And then they kiss, which, was it surprising? Kind of. And maybe I just have seen too much television where this happens, where it's like, oh, these two characters are going to kiss for the first time. There's kind of this long, like, pause. Oh, we're looking into each other. It's coming. Oh my gosh, squeal. Maybe I see too much television that's like that. Whereas this one felt very, like, out of nowhere, like they've done it before. Maybe we just missed the first kiss as an audience. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the kiss felt very comfortable and natural, as if they had done it, they have kissed before? Or do you think it was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, like it wasn't kind of that like super romantic first kiss between characters that we normally see? Let me know what you think. I just want to go into the chat real quick. Paul Garcia, kind of going back to what we were talking about with Janzo and Naya real quick, is saying it's also heartbreaking for Janzo's mother to choose against her son's wishes. I'll talk about that real quick. Sorry, not to get too much away from Gwyn. We'll go back to that in a minute. I just want to comment on this. I don't know if the mistress has ever really had Janzo's best intentions in mind. So it's kind of hard to say. I think maybe that was an easier decision made. We haven't, all in season 1, we got to kind of see the Marshal develop that parental love towards Garrett, and we got to see more of that side of him, and that he does have a caring side. We haven't so much seen that with the mistress yet, so I'm wondering if that's actually something that's going to come up later this season. That would be interesting, because right now we just kind of still see the mistress as someone who bosses Janzo and her other sons around. But great point. Great point, Paul. Let's go back to Tobin and Gwyn. So they have this kiss. Let me know your thoughts on the kiss. I'm very curious. And then, in comes the cousin, which, by the way, Gwyn is very great at making negotiations with people. And she promises if he's willing to kind of put this weird feud with him and Tobin behind, she will grant him all of Tobin's land if he will join the army. And lights probably go off in Tobin's eyes like, oh, why are you giving her my land? But it's because she is accepting his wedding proposal. And this is kind of nice, because at this point, I think it's, at least to me, I feel Gwyn is accepting this marriage proposal because she has seen that there is a different side to Tobin, and that he is someone who is worthy of, marrying someone who is worthy of also wearing the crown. Because as we saw last episode, we kind of see what drives him, and it's not revenge, it's to make a more peaceful land, which I'm sure Gwyn is all about as well. So I think she is going into this marriage with some love for him, with some care for him. It's not just I'm marrying him out of duty. I'm marrying him because it will be a good decision for the rest of the kingdom, but also I have some type of admiration for this person, which that's kind of nice to see, because as we had mentioned, we've seen some growth with Tobin. And so it's kind of nice to see, Gwyn really being able to get a grasp on, trying to build her army, build her, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of build her allies. That's what I want to say. So good for Gwyn. Good for Gwyn. I think she's truly making decisions that she is comfortable with and she wants to make, and that she stands behind. She doesn't want to go into anything that she, feels she has to. She goes into things because she wants to and because they're right. So we get a nice little wedding, or should I say almost wedding, because who decides to crash the party? Garrett does, which this was interesting. I was kind of waiting all episode maybe to finally see Garrett enter the outpost. And when I was watching this episode, I was thinking to myself, how long will Garrett be in the outpost for? Because as I had mentioned last week, I thought Garrett would kind of milk the situation, like try and earn their trust, maybe see what they're plotting, relay that news back to the Prime Order, and then take care of business. That's clearly not what's happening, as he just stabbed Talon and he's basically kidnapping Gwyn. She went with him, but in his eyes, I'm kidnapping this girl because she's the false queen. So he's getting right down to business. And it's sad because he comes off super trusting, and it's even a sad situation because Gwyn is probably, obviously everyone is so happy to see Garrett because everyone thought he was dead, so happy to see he's alive. All these feelings probably are coming rushing back to her, and he seems so trusting. He seems like the old Garrett, but as soon as she gets on that horse and leaves the outpost, he makes the comment of, you knew I was dead the whole time, and that's where things are going to get muddy. And that's probably where something goes off in Gwyn's head, like, that's a little odd comment. What's he talking about? Where's this going? Where's this conversation going? Where is he taking me? Why am I in danger? Why isn't he telling me things? I'm sure that comment sparked a lot of questions for her. Questions for us too, anyone who's watching the show. So, Adam Rodriguez in the chat about the kiss that I was just talking about is saying, I think the kiss seems to be forced between two characters that have no chemistry. I don't know if I would say that they don't have chemistry, but I did think that the kiss seemed kind of like out of nowhere, like, ooh, here's the kiss, it just happened. So I could see your point. I could definitely see your point. But it's very sad going back to Garrett, just because, like I said, he seems so trusting. So we will see where that goes. And then finally, our last person that got a bit of screen time this episode was Talon. I personally thought we would have more of this storyline this episode, because I felt like it was a big build-up. Oh my gosh, Garrett is finally going back to the outpost. Oh my gosh, he finally got reunited with Talon. Oh my gosh, he stabbed Talon. But we didn't get too much of that. A lot of it was focused on other stuff, which we were questioning, so it's great we got that all wrapped up. But Talon gets pulled into the portal, and I have a question about this as well. Now, every episode, when Talon does her little intro monologue, she always says, I have a tiny creature that lives in me, and it was passed down to me by my mother. She always introduces the Astrakinj as a creature. Beforehand, maybe we thought it was just a tool used to kind of bring the Blackbloods and the Lakiri through the portal, but now I'm wondering if it's some kind of being that, works with Talon's emotions. Maybe in that moment, the Kinj sensed Talon was in danger, so to get her out of danger, she pulled the Kinj pulled Talon into the portal. I'm wondering if it's less of a tool and more of a creature, as Talon has, said in the intro. But I felt like that's something very easily we could have glossed over. And then again, it happened when she was going to get attacked by the Blackbloods in the portal. The Kinj brought her back. So I really am thinking maybe the Kinj is working with Talon's emotions and is sensing kind of if Talon feels threatened, the Kinj will do something to protect Talon, transport her here or there, wherever she needs to go to get out of the immediate realm of danger. So that's kind of something interesting, and I would very much like to see more of the Kinj's abilities, and if it works like a companion or a familiar or type thing like that. It was also very interesting to see the other dimension. I kind of hope Talon goes back. I think that would actually be very helpful for her to know the other Blackbloods in the portal, and if she needs names to summon the Lukiri, why not go in the portal and try and figure that out? I think it would be very interesting to kind of explore that dimension as well, since we've seen it's possible for her to go in there. So, and that is kind of all that I've got. We didn't get too much with Talon. We got a lot with Naya, and I think I covered all that. We obviously have the cliffhanger with Garrett taking Gwyn off, and I will give you my predictions on what I think is going to come next. But before that, I want to go into our special segment, which is our Scene Stealer segment. We do this every week, and the Scene Stealer award goes to someone who really just stole the show this episode. Last week, I did 2 Scene Stealers. Guess what, guys? This week I'm gonna do it again, because both Janzo and Naya did very well this episode. Both of them were just, it was sad kind of watching their relationship just basically go kerplunk, because now Naya has to be on the run, and Janzo has lost someone that he loves. Both of these characters really shine in this episode. Both of these characters really worked together to try and find the best way to go about the things that have happened. Both of these characters, I think, really did a good job this episode, and I definitely think shine, so they are definitely our Scene Stealers for this week. All right, let's go into some predictions for next week's episode.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay. I think, obviously, we kind of saw Talon stopping the journey that she's on with Zed to get the stones. She's obviously stopping that to go warn Gwyn. I think she is going to meet Garrett and Gwyn on the road, and some battle is going to happen. Talon and Garrett are going to fight again, and, Gwyn is going to kind of be stuck in the middle of it. I think Talon is going to be able to apprehend Garrett, and they're somehow going to be able to take him back, and he'll be a prisoner of the outpost. But in that time, he's going to be a prisoner in the sense of they want to know what happened to him. I don't think Garrett is going to get anywhere with Gwyn. I think they're somehow going to get him under control and get him back to the outpost to try and figure out what kind of programming has been done to him, because clearly he's not Garrett. I think Janzo, for the time being, maybe the next 2 or 3 episodes is safe in no one finding out that he let Naya go, but I think he's going to be anxious, just like how Naya was anxious when someone was on her tail, or when, she was continuously getting these letters. She was anxious and she couldn't act normal around people. I think Janzo will start to feel that in the next couple of episodes, which might make him suspicious and have someone start to look at him as the person who let her go. I also think that, this episode, we did get to see that something is the sun helps kind of cure the plagueling illness. I think next week we're going to get a little bit more insight into that, because we've kind of got this idea that there is a cure coming. And I'm kind of curious on what's going to happen with Tobin, because of course, with Garrett being alive, I'm sure Gwyn at this point might want to take a lot of her time to try and help Garrett regain his old memories. And so I think for the time being, she's not going to continue any type of marriage with Tobin until she can figure out what's going on with Garrett. I think that might take her priorities. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Outpost After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. I'm so happy that you can join us every single week. I'm Veronica Valencia. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at It's Me, Veronica_V. As I've already mentioned, thank you again so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.